So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. With a good experience, good segment. I have a very special guest here with us. He is a former uh, safety for LSU. He's also an ESPN analyst, also a Super Bowl champ of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he has the second best podcast on all the internet. Next to the We've Got I had to think like that, Ryan. I'm sorry. No, guys, you can hear him also with Fred and Channing Crowder on the Pivot podcast. Please help us welcome Mr. Ryan Clark. How you doing, Ryan?
Good, brother. How are you?
Great. I'll get right into it, man. I know we only got a little bit of time. Just quickly, if you can, just talk about the grind of the student athlete, as opposed to when you were playing as to now. You know, kids having to try to balance practices, football games, and education. Is there a difference now as opposed to when you were in college?
I think a lot of the work is the same. I'm uniquely qualified to speak on this. My son's a junior at Arizona State. He plays ball, and he does it the way I did it. You know, he spends a lot of his time at the facility. He goes to the academic center to either work on his tutoring or take his classes, because there are some online classes you could do. And then a lot of those nights when I text him or FaceTime him, he's in those meeting rooms watching film. And so what you're asking the student athlete to do is put the sort of time in that a professional does in order to be great at his craft, but also go to class, also go to school. And I don't believe people understand the difficulties of that, right? When you look at the graduation rate of student athletes, it's actually higher than non-student athletes. Right.
Wow.
And so that lets you know how difficult it is to just graduate on its own, much less trying to excel at a sport, which takes the allotted practice time, the allotted meeting time, also any extra time that's needed for you to reach your full potential.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I want to go into the NIL. I don't know if you knew or heard about it, but the Georgia High School Association, as of next year, will allow basically student athletes to make money through NIL. This is a two-part question. First and foremost, do you think NIL has kind of leveled the playing field as far as collegiate athletes are concerned? And also, what's your take on high schoolers being able to make money off of NIL?
I think the first thing, it leveled the playing field in the sense that it's just legal for them to cheat now. Right? Like money was being passed, but now that it's NIL, you can recruit that way. Right? When you go on a recruiting trip, they're going to sit you in the office and talk about how much money the people that play your position make. Right? The next quarterback that goes to Texas, he's going to see Arch Manning, that he makes $2.8 million. His projected NIL is $2.8 million, and he ain't going to pass.
Right.
He's the backup's backup. Right. That Shedeur Sanders makes what he makes. Caleb Williams makes what he makes. And so I think it has leveled the playing field from that sense, but it's still on level with the fact that Texas A&M could pay you more than anybody. Right. At Texas. So that there's still that from a parity standpoint. And when we talk about high schools, listen, I think everybody should make their money. Like if you can make it and they're willing to pay you for it, then do that. But the reason you wanted collegiate athletes to be able to benefit is because collegiate athletics is a $20 billion business. Right. What high school is making money?
Exactly. So you don't think it should be regulated in any kind of way? As far as
I think it should have been regulated from the beginning. Right? I think NCAA should have been involved. Mark Emmert shouldn't have washed his hands of the entire situations. But how do you bring it back now? Right? Because in order to regulate it, there's going to be some sort of cap on NIL deals, which means there has to be some sort of minimum. Right. And that minimum has to be for everybody. If you're going to tell Shedeur Sanders he can't make upwards of $3 million, you got to tell me why. You got to tell me, what do I get personally, or what do we get as a whole and as a collective, which you can't do if you don't give these young people a voice. Right. Who's speaking up for them? Who's talking on their behalf? And I think those are all things that have to be worked out before you take the next step.
Absolutely. I want to kind of switch gears just a little bit, talk about safety, which is basically why you're wearing in Washington. The NFL had the big lawsuit several years back as far as like the CTE, the brain trauma going on and whatnot. The NFL has tried, over the years to try to implement some type of safety protocol, the concussion protocol, to try to preserve players, try to keep them, healthy as possible. Do you think that the NCAA has done enough to try to protect these players as well, and especially, in the case with NIL, with these players starting to make more money and the players are starting to not go to the NFL as quickly because they're able to make money in college. So do you feel like the NCAA has done enough to protect these players as well?
I think they're trying. I mean, you look at it's a freaking targeting call every hard hit.
Absolutely.
They seem to try to protect them from the medical standpoint during the game. The protection that college players need is what happens when I get hurt my senior year and I also need treatment and rehabilitation the next year.
Right.
When the school is no longer covering me. What happens when the emotional and mental stress and trauma of choosing a school, getting injured, not playing, my dream going to the wayside, when I have to find a way to be rehabilitated from that? Where's the NCAA in that? And so I think when you look at the health and safety of college players, it can't just span the 3 to 5 years that they're playing at the universities. It needs to go beyond that. And as of now, I think that's where you can use NIL and say, okay, you want to regulate NIL? How are you going to take care of me as a person then, both while at school and when I'm done? And I think that's what having a voice can allow these young student athletes to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, finally, I just want to ask you, I saw an incident with a player that signed an NIL deal, but in so many words, it put him in debt. He signed the deal in hopes that he would go to the NFL. As the NIL deal thing progresses, as it gathers more momentum going forward, do you think the NCAA needs to put something in place to protect the players so they don't sign those type of deals where they're penalized so much money?
They don't care.
Wow.
If they cared, they would have advocated for it before. If they cared, they wouldn't have tried to keep players from benefiting from their name, image, and likeness so long.
Right.
Then having been forced to by Congress, they wiped their hands over it and said, states, you handle it.
Absolutely.
The NCAA could have done something. They didn't want to. And now they want to do something because the coaches are mad.
Absolutely.
Because they're trying to figure out, why can this school get all this money, or why can this school get these players through this money and we can't?
Right.
That's why they want to regulate it. You want to regulate it because Angel Reese could get rich. Right.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Just my last question. I said that was my last question. Do you think it's taken away from the what's the word I'm trying to
I'm gonna do the last one. Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead, last one.
Take away from okay. Do you think it's taken away from college football and the wholeness of it, so to speak? Do you think it's taken away from it?
No.
Okay.
Everybody still loves it. Everybody watched the games. It's the reason all those people show up to Colorado. It's the reason LSU rents out an entire parking lot in Tuscaloosa to tailgate. They still love it. They don't care how it gets. They don't care how the product gets to the field as long as it does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, Ryan, thank you so much for your time. I know you're very, very busy. We really appreciate it. All right. Love the Pivot Podcast. All right.
Thank you so much, bro. Have a good one.
All right. Hey, how you doing?
Great. Okay, so we've got
Ryan Gilmore.
Yeah. Hey.
5 minutes to pass. Thank you guys so much for your patience.
How you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm like I told Ryan, I'm caught between nervousness and being starstruck right now.
Oh, come on. It's all good.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, I'm not gonna hold you guys too long. I know you're in Washington to talk about, like I said, the safety of a collegiate player, compensation and whatnot. So I'm just gonna keep it in the pocket. I'm not gonna try to do too much. Anything you don't ask you or anything out of bounds? Can you hear me?
There you are. I'm sorry. What's the question?
Anything you don't want me to ask you? Anything out of bounds or anything like that?
No, just go for it, man. We're good.
Okay, all right. I have to go through my little introductory spiel for my podcast, and I'll introduce you. Okay. All right. And welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of We Got the Good Experience podcast. Welcome to our Good segment again. I've got another special guest. He is a former, football player. Played several years in the NFL. Also played at Stanford, and he's also a television analyst. Please help us welcome Mr. Rod Gilmore to the show. How you doing, Mr. Gilmore?
I'm good. How are you?
Finding yourself. All right, great. I don't want to hold you up too much. Like I said, you're in Washington along with others. Talk about safety precautions as well as compensation for collegiate players. My first question to you would be the grind for the student athlete. Is it the same now to you, in your opinion, to you as it was back when you were playing at Stanford?
No, I think the grind is different. There's so much more pressure on players today than when I played, and that is tied directly to, the revenue generation, the scheduling of games. When I played, most of your games were Saturday afternoon, occasionally a Saturday night game. But the schedule, because of the influence of television, the games change. The amount of time that's devoted to the sport has changed because all the money that's been spent on Taj Mahal football facilities, players are there pretty much 24/7, it seems like. So the pressures are different. The time commitment is greater now than when I played.
I like that analogy used with Taj Mahal stadiums in lieu to the new stadiums in college football. And you mentioned money, which is the next question I want to go into with you. I'm not sure if you heard or not. The Georgia High School Association is going to allow NIL for high school players next year in the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
My first question to you is, do you think NIL in the college level has leveled out the playing field? And what do you feel about high school players getting paid for the name, image, and likeness?
Well, listen, name, image, and likeness, every American has the right to monetize their name, image, and likeness. Whether you are a child prodigy with the piano, an actor, or anything, an athlete shouldn't be treated any differently. So to me, I don't care if you're in high school. If you can monetize your name, image, and likeness, you should have the right to do so. And I think that is going to become the norm eventually across the country, as state by state seems to be moving in that direction with their high school athletic associations. In terms of leveling out the playing field with NIL, I think to a certain extent that's happened at a certain level. I think with a lot of the mid-level teams, not your elite teams, but in that second level where you can get a few key players, and it can take a team that was maybe a 6-6 team, it can take them to 8-4, or take a 7-5 team to a 9-win team. I think it makes a difference there. So I think in that instance, you're talking about some leveling out. But when you're talking about, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, your top 3-4 teams perpetually, I don't think name, image, and likeness has leveled the playing field at that elite level yet.
Absolutely. Now, to kind of switch your gears just a little bit, several years back, the big settlement with the NFL and the people that suffered from CTE caused the NFL to kind of change how they do things as far as concussions is concerned. Do you think that the NCAA is doing all it can to protect its players?
I think the NCAA has made a lot of improvements, a lot of changes. I know that fans are unhappy about all the targeting calls that happen during games, but that is an effort by the NCAA to keep players healthy and reduce concussions. So I think that is one thing that has happened. There's been also an attempt to limit the amount of contact in practice so that you reduce the number of hits that can also lead to concussions. So I think that's happening. Can more be done? Yeah, more can be done. And I think more studies are being done as to what they can do. Eventually, they will probably follow more of an NFL model and try and reduce contact even more. But there is this balance, you know, of you have to teach players to tackle too, so that they are safe. So you can't ban all contact. So it's a little bit of a dilemma there.
Absolutely. My last question, Mr. Gilmore. There have been instances where there have been some contracts, you know, pending that player is going to the NFL, and they, you know, been kind of set back a little bit, you know, signing some NFL contracts, and where in essence they're losing money as opposed to gaining money. Do you think that
Because of NIL deals that they've signed, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do you think do you think the college football needs to have something in place to protect those players who from the bogus deals, so to speak?
I think that, you know, the NCAA and the universities are abdicating their responsibility here to, you know, help them provide services to their players. They should be allowed to do that if they want to help provide, you know, legal services to players so that they're educated about these deals. They should be able to do that. But right now, none of that is happening. So, and the other part of it is that you don't have a players union where they could provide that service in some way, shape, or form. There has to be some entity that is available to these athletes where they can get help so that they aren't duped and aren't hurt and aren't financially set back going forward.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Gilmore, for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And continue doing the great work that you do.
Good.